The breaking news, legal news of the night is, undeterred by Donald Trump's legal delay tactics, Judge Tanya Chutkan is preparing for jury selection in the Washington, D.C. trial that the judge has already scheduled to begin on March 4th. Now there's more detail about the approach of that trial. Tonight, Judge Chutkan issued an order to Special Prosecutor Jack Smith to, quote, prepare a written questionnaire for distribution to prospective jurors and meet and confer with defense counsel regarding the questionnaire before submitting it to the court approval on January 9th, 2024. If Donald Trump's defense team objects to any of the prosecution's written questions for prospective jurors, then Judge Chutkan will rule on those disputes. And then, according to the judge's order, quote, after review and approval by the court, the questionnaire will be distributed to prospective jurors summoned to complete it at the courthouse on February 9th, 2024. So there it is, February 9th, 2024, the first day prospective jurors will show up at the courthouse in Washington in that case. So we have a scheduled first day of jury selection in the case of the United States of America versus Donald J. Trump in federal court in Washington, D.C. The judge's order also protects potential jurors' privacy, saying no party may provide jurors' identifying information to any other entity, e.g. the defendant's campaign, that is not part of the defense team or government team assisting with jury selection. No party may disclose, either in open court or outside of court, prospective jurors' names or any identifying information. Also tonight, Donald Trump is asking the federal appeals court for an emergency stay of the gag order that Judge Chutkan reinstated on Sunday evening, claiming that the gag order is, quote, muzzling President Trump's core political speech during an historic presidential campaign. The Trump criminal defense lawyers also make this argument, quote, the gag order violates the rights of tens of millions of Americans to receive President Trump's speech. Today, in a legal filing in another court, Special Prosecutor Jack Smith says Donald Trump is attempting to delay both of his federal criminal trials, quote, at any cost. Jack Smith told Florida federal judge appointed by Donald Trump, Aileen Mercedes Cannon, that hours after Trump's lawyers urged her to delay the classified documents trial because of the trial schedule in the Washington, D.C. case, Trump's criminal defense lawyers filed motions to delay the case in Washington, D.C. One Trump motion seeks to pause the Washington case altogether until Judge Tanya Chutkan rules on the Trump motion to dismiss the case based on a claim of presidential immunity. Trump's criminal defense lawyers write, as President Trump should not be required to endure the burden of defending himself or the other burdens of litigation until this threshold immunity question is resolved, the court should stay this matter, including all applicable deadlines pending resolution of the immunity motion. In a second motion, Donald Trump asks Judge Chutkan to delay the deadline to file pretrial motions from November 9th to February of next year, saying President Trump has worked in good faith to comply with this deadline, but is unable to do so given the enormity of discovery and the time required to confer with the prosecution. Today, Jack Smith alerted Trump-appointed Judge Cannon to last night's filings urging her not to be manipulated by Trump's delay tactics. Defendant Trump's actions in the hours following the hearing in this case illustrate the point and confirm his overriding interest in delaying both trials at any cost. The court should not allow itself to be manipulated in this fashion.